Yeah. Siege. Riley. Taz. Yeah. Set me free and give me death, there ain't no other choices. When I lay down and go to sleep, I keep on hearing voices. Little whispers in my head, man, is you fake or loyal? Find no water, death is sign, baby, pick your poison. These little demons living underneath my bed, creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all, sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come.
We take play seriously. That's why ATK chooses Omen by HP and Windows 10.
Here we come.
All right, welcome back everybody to some more hashtag Overwatch by ATK action. Today we've got some Elite Division action and we've got some sexy perms in play here, but I'll let Blur explain that to you in a moment. My name is Sun Phoenix, of course, joined as I mentioned by the wonderful Blur. Welcome.
Hello. It couldn't be a higher stakes match on the line today. This one determining which of these teams ends up in playoff, which of them ends up relegated. And with a little intervention from outside, could even be one of these teams end up in an instant relegation spot.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I mentioned, we have some permutations, but in this matchup right now, we've got XvG 2CP taking on Rage Quit Odysseys. Two teams with, it has to be said, almost opposite trajectories. Rage Quit been in a bit of an upswing. Of course, their recent match against TSG didn't quite go their way, but before that, we got to see them beat Evo, a team also on a bit of their own down spiral, it has to be said, unfortunately. But Odyssey have been improving steadily throughout the year, and now they find themselves in a position where perhaps we thought they might be in that relegation spot, but they've got a pretty decent chance to punch their ticket into the Elite Division for the next stage, if we can put it that way, or finals, or whatever comes next. XvG 2CP though, of course, high profile, losing their star player like a Luke to the mighty ATK, where he now plays flex support. Losing that DPS power seems to have hit them hard, but they also lost quite a significant punching power in their main tank Sully. So a lot of changes to the squad, and I think they've been struggling to come to terms with that and figure out how they're going to solve the problems that losing those players present. So before we get into the rosters though, Blur, why don't you tell us what needs to happen today for the teams to end up in specific spots?
Okay. So one way or another, whoever wins the game today, the winner of this game will be on 3 wins and 4 losses at this stage in the tournament, which is enough to secure 5th, but they can't challenge any higher than that. Mm-hmm. The loser of this match will end in either 6th or 7th place, depending on the result of the Evo game. If that loser is 2CP, they have to lose 3-0, and Evo need to win their game 3-0 in order for them to end in 7th and Evo to end in that 6th position playoff spot. If it's Odyssey need to, whatever Odyssey loses by, Evo needs to better in their win in order to stay up. So it's down to that Evo versus OG Kintsugi game, which maybe we're not expecting a win for Evo today, but if they are able to win it out, then it'll be a situation where they stay in the top division and the loser of this match goes down. Looking at the match though, it is very, very permutation. I mean, it does depend on Evo being able to pull up a big upset, considering that OG are the team in 3rd at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're not, as you mentioned, not really expecting Evo to be able to, especially with their recent performances, to be able to fight OG. They haven't beat OG once this year, and OG are looking the way stronger of the two teams. But as we know, upsets can always happen, so we have to keep them in the back of our minds. But at the end of the day, what matters is here, the winning team will not be relegated to Challenger Division. The losing team might. Well, yeah, stands a chance to be. The losing team likely to end up in playoffs of this match tonight. But permutations now aside, I hope we all understood that. I hope you were taking notes and you were paying attention, because it's very complicated. At least it seems that way on the face of it. But Blur, why don't you run us through the Rage Quit Odyssey? Actually, no, you run us through the 2CP roster, since there's been quite a few changes there.
Well, looking at the 2CP roster, coming in for Sully, or the departed Sully now, is Shimada Only, also known as Twinkie. He was their coach previously, now filling in the core in their main tank position. Previously of Layden, and I'm not sure who before, but as far as I know, Layden, and he's been quite active in international Overwatch communities as well. Yeah. So clearly a head with quite a lot of experience in it and a lot of game understanding there. So we should be seeing some play out of him. Vertigo, formerly of DDC Divinity, but also a consistent starter in this roster throughout the year. Aquatic, formerly of the old OG Thunderclap and Inex rosters, a prodigious hit scan player who we know very, very well. Meanwhile, we're looking at Silencio coming in for like Luke, and Silencio is actually a player that was on their roster before this, but having that kind of depth of power in subs means that now that he's gone to 80k, there is still that strength there.
Yeah.
In that projectile DPS spot. Silencio, obviously a remnant of that old Pulse Gaming roster and the what could have been Goliath Gaming roster for this year. You know, obviously a player with a lot of pedigree, a lot of like strength. You know, hit GM, played at the top level for quite a while. So someone we expected quite a lot of. Toxin Socks, the longest core member of this 2CP roster, who we'll be expecting to see on support, since Slade, his partner there, in that support line, we should be able to see, or expecting to see very consistent performances out of them as well.
Yeah, a roster that Blur seems to me on paper to be pretty strong, given the likes of Silencio and Aquatic still reprising their roles in the DPS slot. But their performance recently has not really been up to standard, and as I understand it, they've been struggling to kind of figure out how they're going to fill certain positions and messing around with that a little bit.
The looks of it looks just like they haven't settled in yet. So it looks like, you know, there's clearly a lot of strength. There's clearly a lot of mechanical skill. There's clearly like game understanding, and there's clearly a lot of like priority of trying to reach higher levels there. But I think at the same time, it's a situation whereby they are a team that's, you know, are probably clashing heads at this point. Probably looking, you know, each of them want to win the game, but all of them have different ideas on how to do that, and they're not quite able to kind of, you know, get those all in a line right now. So, you know, it's a roster that you maybe think by the time we hit finals, by the time we hit the later stages of this year, maybe we'll be seeing stronger performances out of them.
Yeah.
But right now, they're actually, you know, this is probably the worst possible situation. If you said to me at the beginning of the year that 2CP could be at the risk of getting relegated,
yeah,
you know, I would have kicked you out of my house. But
yeah, it's very surprising to say the least. But that's enough about 2CP for now. Let's move on to the Rage Quit squad. One, at this point, we're very familiar with. This is our third time seeing them in a row, it feels like, in the Elite Division. So, roster, as we're familiar with, will be Kwacha, aka Knoppies, here on the main tank. Trigger Happy on the off tank. Of course, we know him for his massive Diva bombs. Assassin JDB and JRV reprising their roles as DPS. And then, of course, we've got Fluffy and Shadows bringing in the support. So, an identical roster to the ones we've seen recently. I know Rinku Haireru is in the lobby and ready to hop in as a sub, which he often does do. So we could be seeing him hop out a bit later on, but this is their solid, stable roster as far as we know. So how do we, before we jump into Lijiang Tower here, Blur, how do you think this one's going to play out? What are your predictions?
I expect we're going to see Odyssey come in with a very solid strat today, very kind of consistent idea of what they think will take 2CP. I think 2CP, I'm not sure if they found their ideas yet. So what I've heard from the Evo game was it was very much, you know, very unorthodox compositions, very unorthodox playstyles, but they were able to take that 3-0. Evo obviously struggling with their own kind of run of bad form. But looking at this situation here, it's a situation where I think if Odyssey are going to break them down, this is as good an opportunity for them to do it as any. So I think they're going to come in with a very kind of set strategy, set kind of mindset play of how to take down this team. And I think 2CP, it's up to them to show that they're more than just a sum of individual parts. You know, they're a team that in their own rights is worthy of performing. So I think that's going to be kind of the key performance differences today. I'm expecting Odyssey to come out more of a kind of unified team situation, and I'm expecting the side of 2CP to be a little bit more fractured, a little bit less consistent.
Last, before we jump in, Blur, I know you were chatting to Odyssey beforehand. Without giving away any strats, what were you talking to your charge about?
I was just
before
having
this match.
A casual conversation with them.
Just a casual conversation.
Just a casual conversation.
Okay,
you know?
I see how it is.
I do coach that team, and I do have a sense of what they'll be doing, but I don't have a sense of how it'll pan out and what their decisions in the game will be. So, coming to this into Lijiang Control Center, a map very well known for its brawl potential, we're looking at very similar compositions from the two sides, both coming out with a Ryan Zaya. The side of 2CP coming out with a Junkrat to accompany their Mei and a Moira Lucio. That offers a lot of big spam damage coming out from that Junkrat, and as well as a lot of kind of cone healing out from that Moira that could keep a lot of people up at the same time. On the side of Odyssey, you're looking at the Mei, Ryan Zaya being accompanied by a Reaper and an Anna. Anna a lot more direct healing, but will struggle to keep a team alive for long periods of time, especially if they're undertaking lots of spam. And the Reaper, a lot more direct damage than the Junkrat, but needs to get very close. And already they're getting picks early in this fight.
Good start there. Shimada only takes first blood with a 5 strike as the team gets nice and aggressive here. And I mean, immediately 2CP coming out firing here, not really giving Odyssey a chance to get set up and mount any kind of defense to start things off, as they like to secure the first cap on Legion Tower.
Yeah, a little bit too passive from Odyssey in that situation there, just to get stuck in that position where the Junkrat could spam them down very effectively. You're seeing Aquatic already on 42% ult charge and Shimada only on 53, meaning that they're going to have to come in and try and retake this fight very quickly lest they get on the end of those two ultimates.
Ooh, Vertigo getting a bit out of position there. There is somebody on the point here. They need to be careful not to let that swing away. It looks like JRV managed to sneak his way into the backline here, and that might be critical. They forced 2CP off that choke and have given Odyssey the space to move forward now, but not finding any picks just yet. Neither team actually able to glean an advantage out of proceeding so far, at least in this team fight. Oh, dropping low there was the Reaper, but not getting taken down, which might be critical for allowing them to win this team fight. Coalescence though committed here, and Aquatic gets the first kill of this team fight. Shimada only goes down, but Vertigo charged up, doing tons of damage with this Zarya beam. Should be able to secure a few more kills with the help of Aquatic, and once again 2CP looking pretty strong to start things off here.
That said, it was a really nice engagement there from Odyssey to open up the fight a little bit, but I think the fight going long like that kind of suits 2CP's playstyle, especially with this Junkrat. They're kind of looking to outlast the side of Odyssey in these kind of fights and just spam them down before they can really do damage.
Did I see a Junkrat in the back? Yes, I did. What is that?
Oh no!
What was that? Aquatic jumps around the side with the concussion mine, pops his ulti and picks up a double kill right in the face. That feels like a disrespect play that you make against the weakest team in the league, not a team that's only one below you in the standings.
Yeah, it's very, very, very flamboyant play from a player we know to be quite a performer in his own right. But looking forward in this roster now, lots of ults coming in from both sides, and the Shadow and the Grab coming out immediately from 2CP in this fight to try and get them the fight win, and it looks like that's going to clean it up for them. Yeah,
the Shadow not really finding anything there, but the Graviton Surge more than enough to make up for that. I'm not a huge fan of stacking those two ultimates, but in this occasion it's probably not going to make a huge difference because Odyssey are going to struggle even to get to the point here, and let's see if they're able to do that.
Just looking, they just don't know how, like they know how to deal with this Junkrat here. Looking at this stage in the fight, they really just at a position where they just need to touch, and it's really not in their favor right now.
And they're fighting into a Blizzard as well. It goes down here. Ultimate comes out from JRV, but doesn't really find anything. Nanoboost committed to that as well, so not getting any picks is quite significant. Slade picks up a headshot to get rid of JRV in the end, and it looks like once again 2CP just too strong. A Graviton Surge though comes out in the other direction. This might be what Odyssey needs to win this team fight, but they don't end up dropping that mage. She got so low. Tox does go down alongside Aquatic, so quite a few bodies on the ground here for 2CP. Odyssey might be able to get something done. This trap, not good for the ball here, not what you want to do. He's standing dead still as a big old hitbox here. Oh, that's a huge shatter to clean things up. It finds 3. The kills are not there though. The follow-up not quite in place, but Slade and Silencio will pick up a double. Silencio does go down in turn though, so again, some bodies available for Odyssey here, but they're fighting a losing battle as Vertigo gets rid of her opposite number. Can they find it here, or will they lose it out? Unfortunately, 2CP just too strong on control center.
And by the looks of it, it just doesn't look like Odyssey are quite sure how to deal with these kind of aggressive ultimate engagements. It's a situation where we're seeing them sit very long on the ultimates that they do have and not really engaging with 2CP in the way that 2CP are aggressively engaging them. The Riptire from Aquatic's a perfect example of that. It's a situation where he was able to get so much value from just using that Riptire and getting so aggressive in their backline that it didn't matter if he lived or died, because of the fact that by the time he died, the fight was over. So coming forward in this game, in this round here, where Odyssey are going to be coming out with Symmetra strat, coming out and playing very aggressively onto point and then stabilizing from there, it's a situation where they're going to have to be a little bit more willing to use their abilities, use their cooldowns, use their ultimates a bit quicker, because they're falling behind a little bit in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be a bit of a warm-up situation though, you never know. I know these teams do warm up before they start, but the match situation is quite a bit different to how things play out. Squads here though, we're running the Pharmacy and a Widowmaker. Aquatic running that, but Silencio getting that first pick onto JRV. Symmetra not really paying off at this stage. It gives them good positioning, but they're dropping so many bodies here as they lose their other DPS, so now they're really fighting at a disadvantage 4 to 6 here. Odyssey on the back foot, but set up nicely on the point. I'm sure we're going to see a touch. They get the first flip. So if they can draw this out for long enough, they'll still be happy with how proceedings have played out so far. But this Pharah in the backline, completely uncontested, with no DPS in play for Odyssey. They cannot counter what Silencio is able to do here. And he's already built a rocket barrage. The hold combo finds everyone. Pretty much only Vertigo stealing the 6k, and Silencio popping some squats here. You earned it, dude.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at a play of the week, that has to be it, right? They just got onto points and just cleaned up completely. Really well played there from the side of 2CV, coming out with this double barrier composition and the 2 long-range DPS that can kind of just pressure from multiple angles and put this team in a position that the side of Odyssey in a position where they're going to struggle to kind of breach. They're going to struggle to really kind of pressure down on the side of 2CP appropriately, but they will take control of the point very, very easily every single time, and that's the situation that I think they're leading on there.
They've got a flip, and it's all like after such a strong team fight win, they're still somehow even in control percentage, and that's just because they keep flipping this point. I think TCP need to be a bit more aware of that, but Silencio seems not to care as he's just going to pick up a quick double once again, putting his team on the front foot here, and again Odyssey fighting at a huge disadvantage. Vertigo just Sigma balls going in here, hyperspheres rather is what they're actually called, and again 2CP will get a quick flip here, but Odyssey haven't won a team fight, but they've got almost double the point percentage.
Yeah, looking at the side of Odyssey though, the big concern has to be, even if you get to 99, how are you going to make sure that you secure that point? They're going to be coming in with that touch, they're going to be coming in with the ability to hold that point, and right now it looks like they're really going to struggle to get into that point for a consistent period of time. But it doesn't look like they're going to stop trying though.
Yeah, it doesn't. A fake out. Beautiful play from Odyssey. Aquatic, you can see exactly what he was thinking they were going to do, but he was wrong as now they get aggressive on the point. That is some big brain stuff from Rage Quit Odyssey as they may finally have allowed themselves to secure their first team fight of Lijiang Tower. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we want to see.
Yeah, that was a big outbrain from the side of Odyssey there. They put themselves in a position where the entirety of 2CP is expecting one thing, and they just rushed through it. So very, very well played.
I love that we watched that from Aquatic's point of view as well, because that's like what everybody was doing, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at this next fight now, they've now switched the Widowmaker up for an Ashe. Possibly a little bit more consistent damage. They're probably not getting the pick potential from that Widowmaker that they would be hoping for. But from the side of Odyssey here, they'll be quite happy with this. 64% on the clock and counting now. If they're able to stall at a point like they did previously, they'll be quite happy here. And the wall coming out to counter this Baptiste window is already a good start for them to just getting a little bit more time on points.
Yeah. Slade gets taken down. 5-strike through the amp matrix. The one-shot kill on 200 HP heroes. So that's a good way to start things off. The rest comes out though. Oh, beautiful play from Trigger Happy. Kills Silencio with his own ultimate, pretty much putting the shield in his face. The Reflux comes out now, but there's a Blizzard on the ground as well from Assassin JDB. So Odyssey might have what it takes to win out this map of Lijiang Tower, but they've got a lot of work to do still. Slade goes down though. That's a good start. Shimada only Bongo not going to find anything here, and a Big Shadow picks up a double, and Rage Quit Odyssey back in play here.
Yeah, I think from Rage Quit Odyssey now, we're now seeing the kind of counter of what we saw from 2CP in the first fight, in the first round. 2CP coming out with a very set strategy, a very set idea of what they're trying to accomplish. Odyssey saying, nah, not today. We're coming out, we're playing super aggressive in your face, and we're going to make sure you're not able to completely hold that point. And it's a very different Odyssey to what we saw in the first round. The first round, Odyssey looked a little bit tentative, a little bit unsure of what they were trying to achieve. This round's Odyssey looked very, very clear, very apparently ready to do what needed to be done. And once they figured out how to break down the side of 2CP, they just kept control of that point. Silencio wasn't getting the same value out of that Pharah that he was in the first round. And by the same token, Aquatic having to switch because he wasn't getting the same value out of that Widowmaker. And once those two people aren't getting value anymore, you really have to question whether the comp's worth running.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming to the next map though, we've got a little bit more of aggressive compositions with both teams here. We've got Dive, all Slade going for the boop, not able to find that. Please puts the pressure on here. The front line, Slade actually going to pay for that with his life, so the Reddit Lucio on this occasion not really paying off for him and his team, as Assassin JDB peeling here to kill a Winston. Not something you see very often from a Genji, but it's probably going to end up being okay, as that's Sleep Fluffy going for some big old plays there. But Rage could have taken point here, and they're going to look to take the first team fight. And also, every second that ticks away here favors them, and I think 2CP, it's going to back up and regroup here. Good discipline play from the boys in blue.
That's good play for Odyssey there to take control of point. Fluffy's still stuck at his own spawn, however. This Pharah offering a constant kind of outlet to damage, that's challenging him to be able to cross. Trigger Happy now helping him cross as well. Ooh.
Oh, Assassin going for something risky there. Perhaps a bit ill-advised, but he gets away with it in the end as he works his way up towards his own blade. The dive is rotating, doing quite a large rotation. You see Shimada only here through the wall, kind of looking for an angle to put pressure on. Vertigo dropping low though, and she is taken down. So again, 2CP on the back foot here in this team fight as Odyssey look to do something big. Oh, that pulse bomb doesn't find anything, but Silencio once again has built an ultimate, but this time Trigger Happy, ready for it, and only really the main tech goes down, Krumpy. So once again saving his team out there. That's a beautiful play from Assassin, gets rid of Aquatic, and Toxin Sauce forced to execute himself here as 2CP struggle to find a way to crack this defense.
This is an absolutely disastrous situation for 2CP right now, however. 63% on the clock, and you haven't even got an ult other than Silencio's Barrage online. And now you're switching comps. They have to play the rest of this round perfectly, and with so many ults coming out online for Odyssey now, it's difficult to see them actually being able to pull that off. You know, it's just such a disadvantaged position for them at this point. They have to really be considering how to engage this fight.
Starting things off with a trigger bomb here. It finds Pay Dirt once again. Maybe a more iconic duo, and this time they used the blade as well to commit. Note they didn't use the nano boost on the blade, but they did commit it somewhere else. So both ultis are not available, but it's not going to matter if 2CP can't make their way back to point here, as it seems like might be the case.
Yeah, I'm coming through here. They're going to be coming into a Primal Rage and a Rally. So for the side of Odyssey right now, they should be quite confident in being able to take this point. It's just a matter of target focusing those remaining individuals on point. And already, JRV, not again.
Again, right? He did this on Ash on King's Row the other day, and it cost his team the team fight. JRV, my dude, you need to keep your land on solid ground, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to matter, at least from 2CP's point of view, as they start swinging away here on point. Krumpy's looking to get the kills. He finds a couple, and Trigger Apple contributing with a few kills of his own, and once again, Rage Quit, at least on Legion Tower, seems to be the better of the two teams. A slow start in Control Center, but once they found their rhythm, they seem to be dominating 2CP here, and they will take the first map. Legion Tower goes their way.
Yeah, it's really well played from Odyssey to absolutely establish dominance on that third point, really. You know, the first point was a complete roll in the favor of 2CP, and the second point a very tightly contested fight up until Odyssey were able to find their way. Typified, by the way, Silencio was able to come in this first fight on Night Market here and actually absolutely clean up. Oh, seeing the squats go out there, have to keep your fitness up. Have to keep your fitness up mid-game, make sure you're stretched, you don't pull anything.
Gym, you know, you gotta do squats in the comfort of your own home.
But from the side of Odyssey there, you know, once they got into that dive situation, once they got into position on Lijiang Tower, they were completely dismantling the attacks of 2CP coming through there. And they really put themselves in a position where they were so favored by the time that the ult started flying that 2CP couldn't make up the disadvantage, couldn't make up the kind of gaps that were prevalent there. So coming onto the next map now, which will be Havana, it's, you know, not really a dive intensive map, but it's very much, you know, a map that they're going to be gonna be looking at, you know, trying to keep that momentum going. For 2CP, they have to find a couple of answers for this kind of like really good aggressive play from Odyssey, and we have to be looking at the DPS especially. JRV and Assassin, we look at them playing that Tracer and that Genji in that round, but previously the Mei and Symmetra, and the zoning potential those two have been putting out on Silencio and Aquatic especially. We're seeing Silencio getting taken out of the air by Tracer, Aquatic being zoned out by a Genji on a Tracer and on a Widow of his own. So you know, it's a very good shutdown job when we're talking about two very, very prolific DPSs. We talked about them as very much the strength of 2CP, is, you know, the kind of pedigree of their DPS. The DPS we're looking at the two of the very strongest DPS in the country. But at the way that Odyssey are playing, it looks like they're playing to neutralize that advantage and really put it in a way that they're able to win on a more macro level. And it looked like in the latter two rounds of that half that they were able to really pull that off. So coming into Havana, a very bunker favored map or brawl favored map when the opening 2 points, you know, they're going to be looking at trying to dismantle this team in a way that's kind of advantages their win condition. Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how 2CP respond here. I think that disjointedness that you suggested we might see coming into play quite significantly there. It looks like the squad that they rolled out with on that last winner, Lijiang, wasn't really fitting with how they wanted to play that, and it ended up resulting in them having to switch halfway through and never having any ultimates, like you mentioned. So 2CP gonna have to go back to the drawing board a little bit here as we do head into Havana. Now Havana Blur, a map we don't see very often. which is I'm sure why you stuck it so early in the rotation this week. But a fun map nonetheless, and we cast our minds back to yesterday for any of you who tuned into our match, Risen versus Overclocked. A map that ended up favoring Overclocked quite a lot as Risen tried something fancy with a ball and the ball diva dive kind of disruption composition. You think we're going to see more of those kinds of things here, or are we going to see something a little bit more standard?
I mean, from the side of 2CP, I'm expecting to see that bunker that we've seen rolling out with far. I think they'll be quite confident that they can leverage the Widowmaker prowess of Aquatic here and possibly kind of the depth of Silencio's hero pool to get some value here. I think that's kind of what they're going to be most comfortable with, most confident on. From the side of Odyssey, we might see, I'm not sure what we're going to see here, honestly. We might see some bunker out of them, taking them in the straight up bunker deal. We haven't seen that so far from the game. True. Though we might also see some brawl. Maybe they come out with something quite aggressive, something quite meant to shut down the kind of passive nature of that bunker that's 2CP will be setting up, and maybe just pressure down before the DPS can really get into position to do maximum damage. So it's kind of that toss-up, Do we look for a complete shutdown of the enemy team so that their DPS can't even get in position, or do we dismantle them bit by bit? We play a bunker with a flanker, a tracer, which we've seen come out of Assassin quite a lot, or a Genji, which we've seen come out quite a lot. Kind of the meta of Overwatch right now. Do we switch to something like that and try and just aggressively shut down with that? So it's going to be interesting to see how the kind of teams clash up over here. But I don't think we'll be seeing any ball wins dive. I think that one's a little bit out of the realms of possibility.
I think it's right about that.
It's a very disruptive comp. It's a very aggressive comp. But that comp kind of favors a entry denial comp. And we saw from 2CP once their Odyssey had gotten control of the point, the ball wasn't really able to find much value when they were running the dive on Lijiang Tower. So they weren't able to get value out of the ball disrupting and shutting down the entry of the only thing that really was denied entry was Fluffy's Ana, and even that was denied entry by the Pharah, not really the Wrecking.
Yeah, true.
So I think they maybe not quite favoring, they probably won't be favoring that comp again, seeing how badly it worked there. But with all the open space on Havana, point 1 is absolutely wide open. You're not denying entry out of spawn. You're not denying entry onto the payload and onto that big open space. So I don't think the ball will necessarily get value. And onto the second point, I think if you're going to be trying to deny entry, you'd be much more favored with the brawl comp where it's all tight and claustrophobic. And, you've got very hard entrance reach. So, I think the dive, not really the favored composition on this map, just because there's so much, the space that is there is so open and so kind of poke intensive that bunker, it's just favored for bunker more than it's favored for dive. Dive's just going to struggle to control that space.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what they choose to do here. I think, apparently the Genji nerf did come through today. I'm not exactly sure the details on that. Do you know, Blair?
It reduced the spread on, it reduced the damage on his shurikens, and it increased the cooldown on his right click. Not the cooldown, but the interval period.
Kind of undoing the buff they gave him a little bit, or at least balancing it out a bit. I think we can all agree, or I don't know. I like watching Genji, and I don't really play, so I'm like, buff Genji to the moon and make him super strong, so we never see anything else for 3 years, which seems to be how these things play out. But I think for people playing the game, they're probably like, Genji's a little bit overtuned. You could have used a little bit of nerf. What do you think, Blair?
Yeah, I think at the stage Genji was, I think he was just a little bit too oppressive. The way he's meant to be played is to shut down heroes that are out of position, kind of pressured in pressure incorrectly kind of set up defenses. But the way Genji was very much that, he can just jump into your backline and get a kill. And doesn't matter how good you are at the game, you die.
So here's the thing, right? I have no issues with Genji, but I do have major and well-documented issues with Doomfist. And if you're talking about getting into the backline and deleting somebody, I can't help but feel like that's the whole point of Doomfist. And that is infuriating, personally.
Yeah, but Doomfist has his own drawbacks in that sense, is that he's got that really large hitbox. He's completely limited by how his cooldown intervals, and it's very easy to exploit a Doomfist that doesn't do those things.
Yeah, and his
no Doomfist in this game
not nearly as impactful as well.
Yeah. No Doomfist in this game, however. We're going to be seeing a Reinhardt, Sigma, Thara, Ashe, Baptiste, Mercy coming out from the side of Odyssey here. presumably aiming to camp the spawn and leverage this fantastic high ground that you have here for the Pharah to kind of camp and spam down, as well as maintain very good kind of frontline consistency. From the side of 2CP though, bunker that we were expecting with the Widowmaker, with the Genji, so, you know, par for the course for them. We're expecting them to leverage the best parts of their team and try and spam out this team.
Gonna make it difficult though. Aquatic, I think, is gonna struggle to get an angle here to try and take this Pharah down, especially with the way she's playing, unfortunately. But at the moment, they're just keeping 2CP stuck in their spawn here. Okay, oh, he does find Silencio there on the Ashe, double hit scan composition here to try and deal with this Pharah, and immediately he goes down. The rest does come out right outside spawn, and 2CP already struggling here, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the kind of risk of playing the double hit scan. If you're playing the double hit scan, the Pharah's already an advantage. You don't have as much damage, you don't have as much spam, you don't really, and if you're being denied at spawn already, it's not like as if you have the angles to take that fight on anyway. So, you know, Aquatic going for a couple of trick shots on the side, but maybe he needs to play a little bit risky, go a little bit wider, try and shut down this Pharah a little bit more aggressively. But, you know, we already see Trigger Happy trying to deny that flank altogether.
Yeah, you see him here going for it.
Absolute control of the space here from Odyssey so far, though. Trigger Happy just being allowed to drift through the middle of the road to try and shut down Aquatic here. And the rest of the team just sitting up front here, just spamming down, making sure that the Sierra is not really able to take... Ooh, he's all the way back there trying to deny the Pharah on his spawn doors.
What a shield, though.
Can you think of a more tragic situation? This is just not where you want to be if you're 2CP. And coming out this way...
Oh, okay, there we go. First pick, Silencio finds JRV, so that might open the gates here, and it does look that way as Fluffy goes down as well, but there's still a Pharah in the mix, goes down, commits a barrage, finds nothing with it, and it's going to go back to spawn. 2CP finally have opened the door here, and I mean, you laugh, but I think Aquatic's little movement there brought them the little bit of space they needed to find that first pick.
No, definitely. It was a very good use of the space there to just get around and do that. I actually would have probably preferred to see Trigger commit more to that flank, commit more to pushing him out and just try and get the kill. But all things considered, 2 minutes nearly outside spawn doors, and with the second engagement forthcoming, you know, this is a really good situation if you're Odyssey here. You're looking at this and really favoring the kind of attempt or the re-engagement here for the side of them here.
Early committal here of the Valkyrie. Bob comes out as well now, just pumping the damage in as the shields start to burst. That Valk, you know, acting like a bongo, just pumping the team up, and they're moving back here, so disciplined play. But Aquatic is now very much out of position, and JRV going to take advantage of that and get rid of the enemy superstar hit scan DPS. And yeah, 2CP still struggling a little bit here, and the Gravitic Flux going to try and put this one beyond any sort of reproaches. Trigger Happy moves forward here. JRV picked up a double there, and 2CP going to have to think about how they approach this next team fight.
And looking at the side of Odyssey here, is they may have overcommitted ults a little bit there, especially considering they used their flux in the latter stages of that fight there. They now have nothing for the next fight. And coming in with this bongo, coming in with their own flux, I think 2CP will be confident of being able to get through the first point at least. But what a hold from Odyssey here. Just to get 3 minutes of the clock on this first point here. Such a difficult first point to kind of get a good defense on. And, you know, to maintain that momentum throughout is just really strong play from them to open up this map.
Yeah, Gravitic Flux did come out from Vertigo there, didn't really find anything, but brought the lamp out. That Shatter, speaking of finding nothing, really not getting anything. And Assassin first to go down in this team fight here, so the Genji from Silencio paying off straight away as he works his way up towards that Genji Blade. Bongo is out here, I'm not sure where it is, I think it was killed already, so nothing much more coming out of that. But now 2CP are finally getting some movement and momentum on the card here. The Amp Matrix comes out, allowing to put so much more pressure on, but JRV getting rid of Silencio might be exactly what Odyssey need, especially given how close he was to his ulti. Assassin with the Pulse Bomb finds one, finds the other tank with some well-placed Pulse pistol shots as he looks to clean up things for Rage Quit Odyssey here. We could be looking down the barrel of a second full hold in 2 days here as 2CP cannot find a way to crack through this Rage Quit Odyssey defense, and they will hold them here on the first point.
What a hold from Odyssey there. Kiting back out of the bongo, out of the flux. Even though they'd lost Assassin, they knew if they just played it long enough, it's a tracer, they can get back to point quite quickly. And that's the situation they really found themselves in for that last fight, was that their tracer came back, the window was up, but they were able to kite out of the way of it. And then just once they were there, once they kited out of the way of that, they were right in front of 2CP. And once you're right in front of 2CP with that Reinhardt versus that Orisa, you know, you're just favoring that comp to kind of win it out. Some key picks coming through there, the Genji going down before he could get his blade off, one that we have to be talking about specifically and how they were able to win that fight. But Odyssey, just such good management of resources and such good management of their health pools and their shields to just make sure that they were able to clutch out that round where maybe, a Reinhardt wouldn't always be favored on this first point. So coming into the second round now, big task for 2CP to try and hold this first point now. Not the most outlandish thing in the world, if they can manage to draw some time out in the first corner at the very least. We'll be talking about how it could be quite dangerous going in the first 1 minute, 2 minutes in, but they have to make sure that they come up on top in the first couple of fights, because if they lose the first fight, even if they do manage to break the attack coming forward towards this cap point, having to hold that little point of capture in such a big open space with so many ways around it for 3 minutes, very, very difficult. And I think that's something we're gonna have to see Aquatic do a lot of work in the early stage of this round to even justify this Widowmaker pick.
I agree, and I think I would have also liked to have seen them defend where Odyssey opened their defense right on top and give yourself at least a couple of team fights there, potentially. But it looks like they're going to go for a more stable defense here as they look to open things up. Holt comes out, doesn't find anything. Aquatic though, looking for the shots here from long range. We're playing into a double shield with the Widowmaker. Isn't very easy, but he is getting a few key headshots here, putting them under pressure on the side of Odyssey. So might be paying off, but not really finding any picks. And as you say, if you're not finding picks with the Widowmaker, you're not really doing anything, unfortunately. As Odyssey are forcing them back, slowly but surely, and they're not really getting an opportunity on the side of 2CP to take a proper team fight here. That Hulk could be dangerous for not finding anything. One goes the other way now, and Trigger Happy dropping low, but won't be taken down. Where is Aquatic? He's got his ulti up, so he's doing a lot of damage, and he gets the first pick there onto the enemy main tank, and now the floodgates have opened. 2CP can take advantage of that opening pick and get aggressive to clean things up.
The problem here, though, is considering where this payload is, you look at Odyssey's approach, they can approach through this left side building. They can approach and make it through the supermarket here, get onto the corner there, and actually fight where Aquatic's going to really struggle to get value. Assassin already posturing in a way that he's probably thinking of threatening Aquatic here, but he is getting pressured out quite aggressively here. Oof. So dangerous.
But it's late. They were so focused on Assassin, they didn't notice Rage Quit Odyssey sneaking out right on top of them, and they've already got 2 picks. 2CP cannot afford to lose heroes here, so close to the golden box of victory as they look to mount a very difficult defense. Shimada the only one left. He gets pulse bombed and dies before it even explodes, and unfortunately it looks to me like 2CP are going to go down 2-0 here to start proceedings off.
Maybe they get a touch here, but I really have to be looking at the Widowmaker here. He's just not getting enough value here. Oh, Blade coming out?
Oh, Blade coming out here, but he's really quite isolated. The lamp, though, making quite a big difference. He does find Fluffy here, so that might be what 2CP needs to fight back here. Shimada only is back on the ball. Vertigo back here on the Sigma, and now they can finally pump the damage in. That Blade, key. I spoke a little bit too soon here, but you've got to be feeling like 2CP are firmly on the back foot, and they've got to dig deep if they're going to hold this for another minute and a half.
Still a minute and a half and a meter left on the payload. With the Bob online and the Flux online for the side of Odyssey, they might be considering trying to push this without even giving up the fact that, without even necessarily having to win the team fight. They might just be considering pushing through to kind of win it with the Flux itself. So for the side of 2CP here, they have to be very aware of their positioning, and the Widowmaker already switched off here. They've got the Tracer that was meant to contest point, and their Orisa still coming back to point. This is a very, very dangerous position for them to be in here, and they have to make sure they're able to win it out here.
Oh, Assassin opening up with a kill onto the Brigitte. That might be everything Odyssey needs to take advantage of this team fight. Silento getting so aggressive here. He wants to get rid of the Bongo, but he might trade his own life away instead, and he does, in fact. Shadows finds that pick, and all of a sudden, 2 down for 2CP here. They're in such a tough position, but Tox is almost back, but with Shimada only going down, Rage Quit are firmly in control of this team fight. A quick triple is going to secure them the proceedings, I'm sure, as Assassin finds the kill there onto Aquatic, or rather Aquatic goes down, and Rage Quit Odyssey will take a Vanna here and set themselves up for a 2-0 lead.
And if you're 2CP here, I think you need to go back to the drawing board here. This Widowmaker not really working, and this Genji, although Silencio was able to come out with a really big blade to even get his team back in the fight, it took too long to really get value in this half, even if we're considering that that's like a minute, 2 minutes into the game. That said, though, once the blade did come out, Silencio was very good value for what he was able to do.
Yeah.
But really, that Widowmaker was just such an awkward pick. It was such an awkward pick against what Odyssey were running, because Odyssey were able to just mitigate that damage, able to get into the team fight, and half the team of 2CP were dead before Aquatic was even in a position to start dealing damage. And even if Trigger had turned around and put that shield up, he still wouldn't have been in that position.
Yeah.
It was just a situation where Odyssey were taking so much better control of the space and better control of the fights that even when 2CP did win them, it looked like a struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. It really did look like a struggle. That whole map looked like a struggle for 2CP, unfortunately. So I agree. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board here, but they're going to have 2 minutes at least to kind of have a talk, have a conversation, and see if they can figure out how to solve some of the problems that the Rage Quit Odyssey are presenting them with. So, guys, we'll be right back to bring you Numbani and hopefully the road to a reverse sweep, but we'll have to wait and see, guys. Don't go anywhere.
I'm on now, right?
Oh, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Blur jumping the gun there. He is on now, as we can all see. Thankfully, he managed to sort his camera issue out. So, welcome back to the cast and to Blur's face as we look down the barrel of what many would consider an upset. Now, I checked the tweet we put up before, where the community can vote on what they think is going to happen, and it was 72% in favor of XvG 2CP. So. 2CP have 3 maps here to prove the community right, potentially, and set us up for our, 3rd reverse sweep in 2 weeks or something, maybe 4th or 5th. I can't keep track, unfortunately. But it's a long road ahead of them, and they have not looked up to the task so far, Blur. Of course, my name is Sun Phoenix, and I'm joined, as we can see now, by Blur, and it's been a struggle for 2CP in this game so far. Rage Quit Odyssey have really looked, playing well and playing intelligently, it has to be said.
Yeah, Rage Quit Odyssey look like they're really prioritizing their compositional win conditions. Look like they're breaking down the macro of this game and taking absolute control of the space very well. And that's really looked the difference between the two teams. If we think back to that Lijiang Gardens game, they've been very, very active in taking control of space and focused on winning the fight second. And that's been the big difference, is that 2CP are really looking to get the picks and then win, whereas Odyssey are looking to control space and then win. It's so in that kind of game, Odyssey looks like they have a much clearer game plan in terms of winning fights, in terms of trolling space and being able to. And I think that very much we have to look at the DPS picks and how that's concerned, and the playstyles. Very much they're leaning on Aquatic, trying to get picks and trying to get value on that Widowmaker. But in both situations, it's been the other DPS that's really popped off for them. It's been the Genji getting the value on that defense, and it's been the Ashe getting the value on that attack, opening up the fight for them when they were trying to bust out a spawn. So I don't think that Widowmaker is necessarily even working at this stage. It's a situation where it's obviously a hero he's very good at. We know he's a very good Widowmaker, but he's just not getting in the positions or landing the consistent headshots in a way that allows him to win those fights. And either his caller or he needs to be making the kind of decision that, they need to swap off it. They need to put themselves in a position where, they start putting themselves playing the heroes they're more comfortable playing. And they're not at the stage, or that's they're not doing that at this stage. Heroes that are more comfortable with comp, rather. Sorry. And it's really showing. Coming into Numbani, however, it's a very dive-centric map, or bunker-centric map. Both we can see excelling quite a lot on this map, but I think especially the dive is something we could see quite a lot of out of these two teams here. It's been a very traditional dive map, and the Widowmaker can be effective in dive, not as many shields to contest, not as much, kind of raw denial of your kind of sightlines. But at the same time, Widowmaker is very vulnerable to dive. Or on Lijiang Gardens as well. How aggressive Odyssey were with that dive. So how they take this fight, how they take this point, how they set up, how they play against whatever Odyssey throws at them is going to be crucial in terms of how they're going to kind of go forward in this map.
We're gonna have to wait and see how they respond here. Now, of course, again, to reference yesterday's match, Overclocked with a incredible push through. 4 minutes 26 left on the clock after they finished their attack. So there's quite a lot of room here for different things to happen on Numbani. And this first point can be a real stymieing point for how the rest of the map ends up playing. You can get stuck here and not really mount even any kind of attack if you're not careful. Now, yesterday we saw a lot of dive on this map, and you suggested we might see more of the same here. Based on what we've seen so far, do you think 2CPs can be able to mount the kind of dive they need to actually get something done? Or do you think we're looking down the barrel of a 3-0 victory for Odyssey here?
My big worry is if 2CP comes out with dive here is that they're not going to engage quickly enough. The big issue they had on Lijiang Gardens was that they just weren't diving. They weren't engaging. Already we're seeing them tend away from the dive here, where they're tending towards the double barrier. And Odyssey actually doing the same. So it's going to be a kind of like clash in the front lines here. Very much that they're going to be trying to push out of this high ground position onto the side of Odyssey. But for Odyssey's sake, or for Odyssey's position here, they should be feeling quite comfortable on this double barrier already. They've played really well on Havana. Playing with the Ryan Sigma and with the Orisa Sigma to really threaten 2CP's ability to even take these fights. So I think they should be feeling quite confident here, quite comfortable in their ability to hold out, spam shields, kind of get the picks with that Tracer on the flank. I mean, it is a comp we've seen a lot from them on. But from the side of 2CP, they're going to have to play a little bit more aggressive than we've seen from them so far. Playing with the Reinhardt especially, we're going to have to see them play quite aggressively, get into that front line, and really just shut down this bunker from Odyssey before they're really able to get that good spam out.
Oh, that's a very bad start though for Orange Kid Odyssey. Silencio getting the better of the Ashe v Ashe engagement there. Is 2CP going for a bit of a movement around the back here. Risky one, it has to be said. Very easy to get booped off the top there by an errant whip shot or a halt. So Lucky to get away with that, it has to be said. But in this position, I feel like, yeah, Shimada only can't really do anything from this high ground. He's dropped down now and will start capping the point, but Silencio gets a second pick here. Assassin goes down, so both DPS out of the fight, at least for the moment, as I'm sure JRV will come back into the mix any second. But yeah, Slay tracks him down and gets rid of him. Unfortunately, this time for Odyssey, 2CP was too good at focusing on getting their win conditions set and taking advantage of the picks they got.
Very good dismantling of that fight from 2CP there. JRV making a really big mistake in the outset of that fight to open it up for 2CP, but 2CP playing their positions well and playing that space well to really put themselves in an advantage in that fight. We're seeing the value of that experience on those two DPS coming out from the side of 2CP here, and in that position, oof, the pulse bomb nearly getting shadows, but Fluffy's immortality shield just able to save him in time.
Very nice play from Fluffy's there, but Fluffy rather. But unfortunately, that means it's not available now for the rest of the team fight. There is an Assassin Tracer here in the backline, as you can see, but he's struggling to get that much value. As I say that though, he takes a ton of HP off of Shimada only, then works his way up towards the pulse bomb. He's very close to that. There's a bomb coming in from the side somewhere. Oh, here it is, right in the front. Pumps his head into a shield, and the immortality will keep it alive. That's a big shatter. The Hulk will help keep the team alive, but it's not enough to keep Trigger Happy and Fluffy from going down, as 2CP seem to have hit their stride much better on this map than we've seen on Lijiang Tower and Havana beforehand.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of the Lijiang control sense of 2CP coming back now, and with them picking off Assassin, they might be able to get this payload just before their Odyssey are able to recontest it. But we're seeing a little bit of that Lijiang control center 2CP again. We're seeing them get into really aggressive positions, use their ultimates aggressively, and get into a position where Odyssey aren't really going to be want to be fighting. And we're seeing a little bit of what Odyssey were doing well against them on Havana, shutting down that Orisa very early. Trigger Happy now going down before the fight's even able to begin.
Yeah, and they're just gonna get a free cap.
And that's
very
just,
nice play from 2CP here, finally seeming to hit their stride, as you say. Vertigo though gets aggressive here with the Grid Influx. They decided they're not going to let Odyssey even get set up for a proper defense series. But Aquatic gets in there, perfect play from him, gets rid of the immortality field, puts the pulse bomb down and takes shadows to the grave. So unfortunately for Rage Quit Odyssey, this aggressive position from 2CP is making it so difficult for them to set up a proper defense play.
Yeah, it's just they're just absolutely struggling to they're struggling to build ults, use ults. They're just not putting themselves in a position to do so. Now with the Flux, this could be the thing that turns around this fight for them.
Stunned out though. I'm not sure if she ended up slamming it down, or Trigger Happy, sorry, ended up slamming it down. But that pulse bomb finding Shimada only, that might be exactly what 2C or Rage Quit Odyssey, sorry, needed to release the pressure as they finally get set up for a point defense on third point.
And at the stage now, you think maybe if you're Odyssey, you set up a little bit higher, set up by the tunnel with that really nice long sightline where you can pressure out a Reinhardt especially, but it actually looks like they're opting for a little bit of a deeper defense. As I say that, they move forward. Come on, guys. One thing at a time.
Coach Blur knows nothing as 2CP comes in here. Slade speed boosting the team into an aggressive position here. They find 2 picks, but lose Shimada only in the meantime. The Bongo is out though, and if they can win the team fight through that, that might set them up well to take this map home, as they've got such a huge time bank here. But 4 minutes and 11 seconds, this could be exactly what 2CP need to set them up well towards that reverse sweep as they continue to get picks here. This is a bad duel, neither player hitting each other unfortunately, as Jeremy gets a pick, gets a second, he's still alive. Will Tox take him down. Aquatic has to come to the rescue here, but that double pick from JRV sets his team up to come out and clean up the rest of their players.
One thing I didn't note from the way the switches that Odyssey made is they actually brought in the Torbjorn instead of the Tracer here. And that's maybe an acknowledgement that they don't really have the time for the Tracer to be effective in getting behind and getting into that backline and putting down pressure. They're maybe going to instead shut down Aquatic, look to kind of pressure out the Tracer flanking and shut down the Reinhardt being able to push aggressively. And that's a nice little read from them, to be able to kind of just push 2CP back in that way. We'll have to see how it works going on now that ultimates are starting to come online again for 2CP, especially that pulse bomb, which could be quite impactful in these early fights. But the window buying them a little bit more time, and JRV getting that nice pick on Silencio. A little bit of revenge for that early game pick that gave away that first point.
Yeah, he's kind of recouping his bad start here. And I hate to focus on something negative, but JRV, not the first time he's gone down early in a team fight unnecessarily, it has to be said. But this is what you get on the other side of that coin. He's able to pop off like this and really buy his team a lot of space.
Yeah, I think you're looking at such a prolific hit scan player, one that's really coming to his own this year. Ooh, pulse bomb coming out and actually able to pick up shadows there. So that's a lot of pressure off Aquatic now in that backline. Gonna be up to this Torbjorn turret. Ooh.
Lamp was committed as well as Gravitic Flux comes out now. JRV goes down thanks to that Flux as Silencio's decided he's going to show JRV how you play Ashe. Picking up a kill onto Knumpis there. Aquatic though popping off in the meantime. It's all Aquatic in the kill feed here and it's all 2CP pushing their way through to the third point. JRV will get back in for a contest but it's going to be short-lived as Knumpis just barely can't get the touch.
And I think what we're seeing there is we're seeing the net results of those first 2 points being so strong for 2CP. They got such a big time bank pushing forward there. And although, 2/13 is still quite a bit, it's a lot more respectable if you're Odyssey. And it's something that you can start to consider that, if we can get to the end of this map, this might still be a winnable point. If we can play our first point a little bit better on the second defense, we might be able to put together a strong hold. But they have to get that structure right. They have to not get staggered in the same way they were on their first kind of defense. And first of all, they need to finish this map with time. And, that's going to be down to their first point attack. If they're able to dismantle the team in the way they're going to want to in terms of trying to get a little bit of space, get a little bit of territory, and start to kind of gain some space in this map, it's going to be down to them breaking down this first point.
Absolutely. Just to update you guys on some of the other matches going on, ATK did 3-0 TSG in what might be the least surprising result I've ever seen in my life. ATK is just on another level, and just to put that into statistical form, that's 28-0 in matches in 2020. So somebody needs to do something. We were hoping it would be 2CP, but their recent struggles have meant they're not really the team they were at the beginning of the year that was able to take a map off ATK twice. If we remember Open Division as well. But Blur, looking at this team, looking at this game here, what are we looking at in terms of squads?
So what we're looking at from the side of Odyssey is we're looking at them coming out with a Pharah and a Genji. That means they're going to be trying to take aggressive angles, kind of dive in, pressure down the front line of 2CP a little bit, possibly pressure this Ashe and this Baptiste on the far side for the side of 2CP. And from 2CP, we're seeing very much more of the same. I think they think that this is going to be their strongest composition going forward, and if they can pressure down Odyssey correctly with this composition, they'll put themselves in a good position to go forward in this match.
Absolutely. Look at JRV here on the side, pumping in the damage, helped of course by Shadow on the Mercy, but it's going to be Trigger Happy that loses his mech early on here, and that might be exactly what 2CP needs to keep their defense set up nice and healthy. But they have dropped down, but Trigger Happy is maybe even going down. Tox is low, Silencio is low, so they're under a lot of pressure, even though the kills are going their way. But I think with that double kill coming out of Shimada only and Aquatic, who picks up a double kill of his own, is going to secure them the teamfight victory here. Odyssey going to have to approach this one again.
Yeah, it's a little bit of shaping that Odyssey have to do here to put 2CP in a position that they're going to want to dive into them. And I'm thinking maybe the Genji might even be a little bit difficult to run into this Reinhardt comp. Ooh, Silencio! Oh no, this is a JRV revenge story coming through here again. Opening up the fight here for his team to come in quite aggressively, and this Pharah to come in super aggressively, but Knorpy is doing the opposite here, getting picked off way too early in this fight if you're Odyssey.
Yeah, unfortunately not able to get anything done now as he is in the grave, as Odyssey struggling a bit to get set up with a proper attack here, it seems. JRV going down to Slade. That's not what you want to see if you're a Pharah player. Trigger Happy hits the deck as well here. Assassin will follow shortly after. So 2CP finally, again, I've said it for the third time now, but hitting their stride on this map. Maybe they needed 2 warm-up maps to get back into the swing of things, but they seem to have figured something out.
And they're just whittling down this time back a little bit, which I think is quite important. They're putting Odyssey in a position that they don't really want to be in, considering what the time bank is that they have on the attack here. But Odyssey getting good value from this Pharah. They just need to get their target focused right. They need to be all engaging on the same targets. Let JRV worry about the kind of spam damage on the team here.
Oh, okay. Shimada only with a flanking shatter. Reminds me of Bubbles on King's Row. Or rather, no, it was Newt, sorry. On King's Row, who was flank shattering the whole time. He did find the shatter, but didn't get any kills off the back of that. And all of a sudden, his team is on the back foot now as Silencio goes down. That means Pharah is pretty much uncontested here. She's not getting any healing, though. JRV in a tough position here as the blade comes out for Assassin JDB. He finds one. Aquatic eventually tracks JRV down, and they committed a few ultis here, but they're not really finding anything on the side of Rage Quit Odyssey. Knumpis hops up into the air and then floats in the air and then gets brought down to earth with a bang as he gets taken down by the Gravitic Flux. An explosive teamfight, Blur, but at the end of it all, 2CP still in control.
And we have to say it's a very expensive team fight for the side of Odyssey specifically. You look at all the ultimates they committed into that fight, and you're thinking, as a defensive team, you have the defensive advantage. You have the kind of advantage of being able to set up how you want to. As the attacking team, if you have the ult advantage, you have to make sure you use it. And pumping all those ults into the fight and not winning it is absolutely devastating to the side of Odyssey here. They have to put themselves in a position now to really that they have to take out these supports very early in the fight. And already Assassin going down. This is a disaster situation for them right now.
Completely a disaster situation. They might even want to just back out now and come forward and try and get one more fight in as they drop a few more heroes. Trigger Happy committed the ultimate there as well. JRV with the Fire Barrage in tow. So unfortunately, they've got nothing to work with as they come into their last team fight.
Yeah, but it has to be said though, 2CP not a lot on the board to work with either. They do have the window and the shatter, but the window and the shatter not the highest impact ults versus dive, that has to be said. Would I have able to reposition too quickly for either to be truly effective? Yeah. Other than taking out maybe 1 or 2 picks on the point. But they have to get more value. They haven't gotten value this entire round, and now it's at a stage where it's do or die time for them.
It is do or die time here, and it seems like JRV's decided to die once again. As the shatter comes down on a couple, the follow-up pulse bomb is there, and there are no supports left for the red team anymore, and almost no hope on Numbani as 2CP shatter the hopes and dreams of a 3-0 victory for Rage Quit Odyssey as they secure themselves a win on Numbani.
Yeah, and for the side of Odyssey here, it's back to the drawing board for them. They're really sitting in a way weaker position than they were a map ago, it has to be said. You know, they look firmly in control of the series, but 2CP coming out with something they feel a bit stronger on.
Oh, he lobbed that one over the top there. Don't know what invisible fence he was worried about, but he set it up and he got the kills.
Yeah, looking forward to this map, or the next map in this series now, though. It is going to be the one, the only Paris, everyone's favorite map, of everyone's favorite map type. These are indisputable comments.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think, you know...
Well, I mean, one of the teams literally named themselves after the map type, so...
Yeah. I mean, we're going to just have to see them do well on it here.
Yeah. So yeah, we are heading into Paris here, Blur. A very static map in terms of how you set up, and one that is once again one of those points, one of those maps where the first point can be a real strong chokehold in more ways than one to get through. So a choke point rather. So 2CP might be set up well here. If they can set up the kind of defense they did on the first point of Numbani, they're going to sit pretty here to head us into a map 5. Rage Quit Odyssey, what do they need to do to kind of recoup the losses that they seem to accrue there on Numbani? It seemed like their ult economy was all over the place, their discipline was all over the place. What needs to change as they head into Paris?
I think Paris offers a little bit of a more narrow choke points. It's the first point of Paris is actually very similar to the first point. Very narrow, very choke intensive, and very kind of like there's only like, you know, that one major. There's a very major kind of central point of holding. It's a high ground, you know. Numbani, obviously it's a little bit better spaced out, so it's a little bit more open to be breached by dive, but here it's a little bit harder to breach it with dive. If you're going to breach it with dive, you're probably going to be looking at it with a combo dive, that Sombra and that Genji coming through. But fundamentally, they just need to shore up their defenses a little. They getting picked off early in that fight like JRV did, and then, you know, kind of struggling under the pressure of 2CP coming in. You know, they didn't look like they were able to back off and regroup and reset in any substantial way at any stage during the first 2 points. There was only once they got to, you know, last chance saloon on third point that they were able to kind of like steady it up and look like they were able to fight it. Paris, you know, another one of those maps that's like they might very much favor themselves to kind of like, you know, hold this first point quite aggressive or quite like, you know, defensively, make sure that they're not, that's Odyssey aren't able to breach it if you're 2CP. But if you're Odyssey, I think you need to lean on the things that have worked very well for you in the first couple of points, or the first couple of maps, and that's taking control of the space very early, taking control of the area that you want to be fighting, focusing on win. Yeah. And to this point, we haven't really seen take or be as loose on taking control of their win conditions as they were on Numbani. On Numbani, they looked completely out of the loop there. They weren't really sure what to do there. Yeah. So for the Paris map, I think that's very much what we want to be seeing from Odyssey. Is that, you know, once you have space, you have to control it the way you have in the first 2 maps. If you let it go the same way you did in map 3, I think we're expecting very much more of the same. Yeah, I think another thing we have to think about is some of the heroes that are viable on this map that are not as viable on other maps.
It was like Bastion and Sombra. Sombra, a key pick for Risen's victory on this map against Overclock yesterday, where, of course, you need to go watch that clip again, because that was an awesome moment, at least for the Risen players. Peach is making groan noises here in the background, because he, of course, was not a benefactor of that play in particular. So we're going to have to see, as you got a nice look at our faces there for half a second, you're going to have to see if any teams choose to run the Sombra here, and neither team going to run it here. More double shield, more Ash Tracer, but we do see the May out of Assassin JDB here.
And I think what we're looking at, if we're seeing a May, is we're looking at them trying to rotate early, and I think we're looking at them trying to punish this Reinhardt if he decides to push on him. And I think that's a very astute pick from the side of Odyssey here. We saw it work really, really well against Newt's Reinhardt on the King's Row game of the TSG Odyssey game, where they were able to just use that May to punish him being so aggressive. And maybe if they don't use it for that, they'll use it to rotate. They'll use it to get into positions that favor them, and that'll be something they're kind of going to look at, especially coming through this one very hard choke that you have on Paris here.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if they can find their way through that choke, or if they're going to get stuck here like Overclock did yesterday. So far, they're kind of just slowly waddling on through. Orissa's a pretty sad hero to watch move. All those legs, but no speed to show for it. But they do manage to get through, mostly uncontested. They did have to commit their lamp here, and they do have a Tracer in the backline. But Tox, he's the one who's going to open things up here for 2CP. Gets that pick onto JRV, and suddenly they're in a good position here on the defense. Rage Quit kind of stuck in an awkward spot now, and there's a Tracer in their backline, which you can't see on screen at the moment. But Aquatic is really making it difficult for them to get any kind of space, compressing them into this room. But now they move out and look to get aggressive, pumping the shield down. The Hulk gonna make life a little bit difficult, but Knopis opens things up with a kill onto Shimada only, and with JRV rejoining proceedings now, that's advantage Odyssey as they look to secure the first tick on the point. Aquatic though gets JRV as he comes back from spawn, so that's really good awareness from the Tracer player. But Vertigo going down means there's no tanks in the mix here for 2CP. It's going to be up to Aquatic. The pulse bomb, it's the corner of the shield, but still manages to catch Trigger Happy on the end of it. Silencio's Bob as well contributing now. A double kill. Make that a triple for the Ash player. And again, well, not again, but as we're expecting, Blur, it comes down to the 2CP DPS to keep them in the fight.
But I think this is Odyssey returning to something they maybe are a little bit more comfortable with. You know, they're very comfortable with playing in a way that they dominate the space, and then they look for the picks afterwards. And for a large part of that fight, it looked like Aquatic and Silencio weren't really getting the value that they needed to. Once Silencio was able to land a couple of good dynamites, though, it was good. For the side of Odyssey, though, I think maybe what we need to look at here is we need them to be a little bit more patient with their rotation. Not let themselves get picked off as easily as they were in that opening fight there. As we saw, JRV got picked off very early on by Tox because his tanks may perhaps over-rotated early in that fight.
Ooh, Gravitic Flux comes out of Vertigo here, trying to get some first opening kills here. Doesn't find anything but pulls the lamp out once again as they move towards point. Ooh, committing the ultimate here, Assassin. Gonna go down straight away. The Blizzard not really getting anything, although as I say that, they pick up a double kill. So a little bit spoke too soon there, as now they can start moving towards the point. They do have a member up here on the side of Rage Quit Odyssey, so they have a little bit of an advantage. But that Pulse Bomb could spell the end of this team fight. He gets JRV as an extra gift there, courtesy of Knopis, who doesn't even end up going down. Unfortunately, the lamp, or rather the amplification matrix, is out here, and so was the bongo. So a lot of damage, but they're not able to leverage that into any kills at the moment. Odyssey struggling here, once again stuffed into this room, and this time they don't really have the numbers to fight back, as now they're getting sandwiched. Are the spawns coming back? Assassin JDB, my dude. What's going on with these Odyssey DPS? I mean, I don't know what you need to do to get him to stay on the map, but it doesn't seem to matter as JRV, he's going to step up on this occasion, pick himself up a double kill as Lade goes down. Vertigo will follow suit, and once again, Odyssey going to manage to secure themselves a team fight victory and secure first point as well.
And actually, I have to point out, it's actually a fantastic bit of awareness from the Odyssey players to read the spawns there and just absolutely punish Shimada only as he was coming back from spawn there. It was an interesting play. It was, you know, they rotate halfway through the map, shut down the Orisa, then run back to point. Very, very strange. And I think Assassin was probably going back there to reset, but you know, what a really nice opening for them to create there and really put themselves in a position that they've got a nice amount of time in the bank to take the second point here, especially considering how oppressive that Paris first point tends to be.
Yeah.
And now they're already taking control of this globe area, which is favored by a lot of the stronger teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Silencio gets the first pick, helped of course by the Amp Matrix and a halt. So good work from 2CP, gonna prevent them from carrying the momentum through. Oh, quite a commits the ultimate there. Not sure about that one, but he doesn't find anything. He did pull the lamp up, but Silencio uses the space that Aquatic created to get the flank on and get the pick onto Assassin JDB.
Yeah, I think Aquatic doing a lot better on the Trace than we were seeing him do on the Widowmaker and the Ashe there, and I think Silencio playing a nice consistent Ashe in this situation to really deliver the kind of double barrier play style that we would be expecting from an Ashe player in this meta. You know, Aquatic maybe more favoring the pick style, the more kind of like, you know, hit the headshot style, whereas, you know, it looks like Silencio really getting really good value to kind of suppress the enemy team in this situation here.
Oh, Gravitic Flux comes out though. Bongo committed by Shimada only as well. So a lot of ultimates come into this team fight as they look to secure things, to look to secure the point on the side of Odyssey. They do get a tick here, so something to play for even if they get nothing else. But the Gravitic Flux now in the other direction, going to make it difficult for them to get anything more. But Jeremy's popping off here once again. He picks up a double kill. Can he find anything more? Will it be up to Assassin JDB to secure some more picks? It seems like not really needed here. Surplus to requirements as Jeremy's doing all the work. He won't even go down here. Aquatic finds the angle on him and tries to take him down, but he boops his way out of there and is going to pick up some more damage onto the heroes coming back from spawn. Onto Monkey now is Shimada only, so they're really going deep, trying to build themselves some space to actually get a defense here, but it seems like they're in such a tough position. Slade, he managed to get the ulti off. That could be key to helping 2CP actually burn this momentum off here, but Toxin Socks put in a corner and taken down as 2CP still struggling to get back into the mix here as Odyssey in control. Pulse Bomb does find the kill into Jerry, so the carry is dead, and that charge might do enough to secure 2CP proceedings here, but Knoppi's still in the mix, and so is the other DPS of Odyssey, JRV, or Assassin rather, getting picks. He picks up a triple there to close proceedings out, and 2CP gonna have to pull up an attack with a time bank of 1 minute to beat.
And that's devastating for the side of 2CP there, just managing to miss that 1 minute mark by 2 seconds there. That means that if they manage to cap in overtime here, they will not get extra time to try and capture this Paris first point. That said, for the side of Odyssey, really nice managed team fights. We didn't actually talk about the 2CP setup on that point very much, but that back setup on Paris, increasingly unfavored in the Paris setup for higher level teams because of its lack of rotation options. You know, if you're set up on that globe, you can rotate back towards the piano, you can rotate onto point, you can eventually rotate into that position where 2CP were set up. But if you're set up in that position from the start, it's so easy for the team to take space around you and line you up for a big ult like that Gravitic Flux, which we saw Trick of Happy gets so much good value out of. So for the side of 2CP here, maybe we need to see them clean up their engagements a little bit. But for the side of Odyssey, I think that constitutes a very, very nice swing of fortunes for them. They've captured both points on Paris. They got a better read on how 2CP want to play with the Ashe Tracer, something that they've been quite strong on throughout this game so far. So I think they're quite happy with that. And now coming out with this Mei Ashe again, I think they're expecting the Reinhardt, expecting them to come in quite aggressively and try and rush them down quite early in this fight. And I think Assassin's job in this situation is going to be to punish that Reinhardt, to screen his front line and really just slow down the tempo of this fight so this bunker can be like effective to its highest degree. Yeah.
And I think it makes sense just on the map as well. You can slice the team in half even if you don't focus the Reinhardt out and really disrupt how they want to move in this choke point rather. As 2CP look to get aggressive at Aquatic, probably just going to move around the back here. Makes more sense on the Tracer than it did on the Widow, although to be honest it did end up winning them that team fight on Havana. But a lot of damage copped early on here as they look to rotate their way around. But a good, intelligent, quick rotation from Odyssey is going to put them on the back of the point here, bro.
Yeah, I think this is a good position for them to be setting up. You know, as much as this position is good for the team trying to approach the point to be able to take multiple angles, when you're looking at a brawl, you're looking at, we want the minimum pathing requirement. I think that would be through the...
It seems like they're going to minimize the pathing requirement with a speed boost from Slade. So much aggression coming out of 2CP here as they manage to secure themselves some picks. Now you said there was a swing of momentum there for Odyssey, but it all depends on how the 2CP attack plays out. And so far, the momentum is favoring the boys in blue here as they look to cap first point. What is happening? Sigma die. Thank you. Slade gonna secure that kill, pop some squats on his ass as well, and get set up to attack the second point.
And from the side of Odyssey, you're looking at that and you're thinking, how did you let that one slip? They let the wall didn't catch enough people, they didn't focus down Shimada only quickly enough, and they put themselves in sloppy positions. Assassin JDB getting booped off the map, JLV not able to get the substantial damage they needed him to get on that Reinhardt. And coming into the second point here, you favor this globe position to be even stronger for the Reinhardts if they're going to be coming in here.
Oh gosh, Aquatic doesn't end up going down, but they do so much damage! The Dynamite contributing so much. Aquatic can just get a few shots in and pick off players left, right, and center, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes left on the clock. Blow. We could be in for a disastrous attack for an incredible attack from 2CP there. 5 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, not quite overtime, it has to be said. Honestly, you really need to go back to the drawing board. But they're not breaking down this Reinhardt comp quickly enough. There's many ways to break down a Reinhardt comp, and it's especially unfavored on Paris, a map that even in the height of very Reinhardt heavy metas has seen a lot of bunker, a lot of kind of intricate holds which rely on bunkers and bastions and all sorts of very kind of spammy comps. So they need to be kiting a little bit better, they need to pressure out the point a little bit better, and they need to kind of keep those advantages in a way that allows them to pressure down a bit. I'm thinking even the May, they might be looking at something like a Pharaoh or a Junkrat here to really give themselves... something that really just punishes the shield as their kind of approach. And in this situation, they really need to make sure that they're able to make that count early. For the side of 2CP though, on this defense, they must be feeling quite confident with that bigger hold on the board. And so for them, they just need to kind of maintain this space. They need to kind of maintain this kind of hold that they've managed to build up, while Odyssey tried to spam it out quite early.
We're gonna have to see. I mean, Odyssey. I mean, this. If you've ever talked about people being on the back foot, this is Odyssey firmly on the back foot on Paris. So a minute to push. They're going to have to come up with something extremely clutch here. But if they can get even the first point, that's going to set them up with something to defend and give them actually a decent chance to play for the draw. But not if they play the way they did on their defense. So we'll have to wait and see how they approach things here. We do see the Pharaoh coming out, the pharmacy, out of Assassin, JDB, and Shadows. So might be exactly what they need to crack through the 2CP defense with enough time to mount a proper attack onto the second point. But we'll have to wait and see here. Aquatic is in the back line, he's taking a lot of pressure, and Assassin, or rather Shadows, going down early is going to make Assassin's life infinitely more difficult, but he drops down, gets the shot onto Aquatic and takes him down. JRV gets rid of Silencio, so both DPS for 2CP in the ground now as Rage Quit Odyssey might have magicked up an advantage out of nothing here after losing that early pick.
It was a really good play from Assassin there to take the advantage in that position and actually just shut down Aquatic as they came into that position. Now they find themselves in an inverse hold of the way they set up in the first their defense here, and putting a lot more pressure on this 2CP lineup. That's to be said, to kind of try and hold this first tick. It's going to be up to them to kind of hold this out, make sure that they're able to hold this for the rest of their capture of this point.
Oh, Gravitic Flux from Trigger Happy. Really nice work, charging that up quickly, and a good accretion to make sure his Lade can't get any value. Oh, goodbye, Tox over the top there, and into the drink he goes as 2CP have to set up now for a second point defense. Perhaps something they weren't expecting.
I think for 2CP now, they won't feel too disheartened by that though. Farah not as strong on the second point. You're very hard to get her into the positions that she's most effective in because of the hard kind of corridors and choke points, but they will be trying to get her in there because if they can, it could be something that really gives them an advantage in terms of controlling the actual point position here. So this, along with JRV's Bob, probably something they're going to be looking at as quite a strong win condition here to try and give them an advantage.
Ooh. Silencio, ready for that one. Takes down Assassin JDB as he commits the ultimate. So now, a lot of players down for us. Oh, but that's a big shatter. A Pulse Bomb follow-up, and 2CP firmly in control of the second point on this occasion. And they're going to make sure that they don't have to do much to win this map.
Well, let's. How do you rate a 5.5 minute hold? I think it's doable, right? Winnable.
I've seen it go both ways. I'll be honest.
Yeah, they're either going to lose in the first fight, or they're going to lose in the last fight, or they're going to hold them for 5 minutes.
Or they're going to lose at some point in between if you want to really cover all our bases here.
No. It's the first or the last fight. If you don't lose in the first fight, you hold for 5 minutes and then lose.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But I think for Odyssey there, they'll be feeling a little bit better against that Reinhardt composition coming in here. A little bit unfortunate to get the barrage denied so early on in that fight. Maybe they needed to look to deny Silencio a little bit better there. But in this situation here, I think they'll be leaning on this Pharaoh a little bit more, thinking we can get her into hard angles early and we can guarantee a lot of great spam damage out. So let's keep pummeling these guys. Let's put a lot of damage down on their backline, and let's put ourselves in a position to win this game.
Yeah, I like the Pharaoh pick here, actually. I think it really adds an extra kind of dimension, like literally and figuratively, to the composition and makes it, people like Shimada only are going to really struggle when you've got that Pharaoh on the high ground, pumping in damage into your backline and then sometimes into the back of you, putting the pressure on. But it's going to be up to Assassin JDB to see whether he can survive against the might of Silencio's Ash. I think that's going to be a key part of this.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very, very important here, making sure that they don't fall victim to the mistakes that have kind of plagued them throughout this game so far. And for the front line of Odyssey, they're really going to have to try and kite out a little bit better, make sure that they don't get pressured down too quickly by the side of 2CP tanks.
Oh, that halt actually could have been huge, but Assassin dropping a little bit low here. In terms of HP as he looks to pump the damage in from the side. Shimada only now rotating across for 2CP. They're looking to get set up in this room again, and we've seen it be quite difficult, in fact, and it's kind of a mirror of what we saw, not even a mirror, an exact repeat of what we saw in the Rage Quit attack now, where they get stuffed up, but they're not even going for it, they're just pouncing straight on that amplification matrix, or rather the lamp. A huge part of keeping 2CP, or rather Rage Quit alive, as they mount a very impressive defense here, Blur. So if what you say is to be believed, we're going to watch a 5-minute defense here, and then we're going to watch them lose.
or they're gonna win. That is a possibility.
Okay.
That said, we're seeing a lot of value coming out of Assassin very early on here. He's already got his barrage online, and with the window online as well, I think we're gonna see a lot of damage coming out from this first choke the next time 2CP try to engage here. Especially considering the nature of 2CP's DPS. If they don't manage to get through this choke early, it could be really difficult for them to get through it altogether.
What is that? Oh my god, that lamp was enormous. Fluffy keeping Assassin JDB alive during his ulti, Vertigo going down. Somebody's on point. Aquatic, never mind. Fluffy taking care of that as well. He's really doing everything his team needs him to here. A standout player always for this team and showing up on Paris.
Yeah, Fluffy, a former 2CP player himself. Probably eager to get one off over his former side. We do know that they have an existing kill counter going on between him and Tox, so it's interesting to see what the score will be at the end of this game as far as that's concerned. But it's really nice hold there from Odyssey to get great value out of the barrage, and with the window still online, we're expecting a lot of frontline damage out here again.
Ooh, Ampmatrix comes down now, so to get an early advantage in this team fight. Fighting from the choke, not something you see very often, Blur.
Yeah, I think Odyssey doing well to kind of kite out of the way of that, especially probably noticing that they're now playing McCree Ash, something that's a little bit more orientated on taking this Pharaoh out of the air.
Yeah.
But again, as we've mentioned before, when they switched double hit scan, they didn't look the strongest before. But as I say that, Assassin goes straight out of the air. It's going to have to be the absolute cheekiest of reses to get him up.
What are you going to do? But there it is. The Valk comes out and he goes for it, so he does get the res off here, off screen. The Shimada only kind of sits eye to eye with Bob, decides better, but he backs off towards his team and probably back towards his spawn, is once again Odyssey holding firm.
Worth noting, however, they do have that sound barrier online, and if they are able to get into the fight quite aggressively, as they did in that first fight where we saw them rush down the bunker of Odyssey quite aggressively, that beat could be the difference here for what we've seen so far. I think what we've seen so far is they just didn't have the health pool to sustain it with that Pharaoh above them, but if they're able to get that up, unless the Gravitic Flux is used extremely well by Trigger Happy, it could be a situation whereby they're able to shut the defense of Odyssey down. Aquatic getting a lot of ult charge in that fight, and the McCree, but going down in a little bit of a sloppy position, it has to be said. He got picked off in a position you'd expect him to be playing an interest
Oh my god, that is a big ol' ult combo as Assassin JDP picks himself up a 4, make that a 5k. Once again, Trigger Happy, the only one stealing the full team wipe from the DPS player. So, I mean, Odyssey in firm control, but that did cost them 2 big ultimates.
2 big ultimates, but however, they are about to have that supercharger online. And again, we're looking at a situation where they're really they have to be considering that spamming down this choke is going to be super important. So, oh no, that's not what you want.
That's a bad start. He's going for the res here. Fluffy shadows you, man. He gets him up and he doesn't end up going down again. Fluffy's lamp coming in clutch there. Eventually, Shadows will hit the deck and Slade. Gonna get the boot kill onto Assassin JDB. Not sure how that transpired, but Silencio gonna get some Bob and Bob action there as his Bob gets the better of that. Aquatic has moved onto the Sombra here, as you can see. Not a hero we see that often, but Paris is one of the places that she does get a lot of value. Shimada only, hello, pay attention. Nobody was watching him coming. He just waddled on in there, but somehow, once again, an enormous lamp from Fluffy is gonna buy Rage Quit a little bit of extra time here. The follow-up was there for 2CP though, and they'll finally, after 4 minutes Blur, they get that first cap.
And see, right at the end, they're losing the points. as I called it, as I predicted.
Predicted.
But it is still up to them to capture the second point now. The Pharaoh might get a little bit of value inside here if they decide to play it out here with her in the air here. Because she does have the ability to just hold those high positions, those really hard angles that are be quite tough to breach if you're the 2CP lineup here. But Odyssey not even opting to stand on the globe here. They're opting to take this point hold here. Something which I'd say out of all the available setups is probably a little bit inadvisable if you're looking at the spammy DPS that's 2CP are running, especially if we're looking at the Ashe, who's going to be looking for those dynamites and manages to hit quite a big one there. Ooh.
I'm muted, dude. Oh, Gravitic Flux comes out now, breaking some knees. Vertigo gets a lot of picks here. So 2CP in control once again. It's gonna be up to some magic here, and that was not magical. He gets hacked out straight away, and 2CP gonna punch their ticket towards the map 5 here.
I think, you know, we're looking at a fight that 2CP wins on value of just the absolutely gigantic map time advantage they had. But I think now we see Odyssey coming up with an answer. I think we see them coming up with a solution to what we've seen from 2CP in the last 2 maps. We've seen that Ryan and Sigma be so kind of prolific in terms of them opening up the fights and getting really good value in terms of opening up space for the team. But for 2CP or for Odyssey now, it's a situation whereby they must be thinking, okay, we've got a solution. They come out with this again. They come out with this again on Oasis. We can kind of pummel them a little bit. We can put ourselves in a position where we win this fight. We can win this matchup, and that has to be something that 2CP has to be very scared of going into map 5.
Yeah, so we will be heading into a 2-minute break here before we close the series out, guys. You better not go anywhere because this could end up being a very, very fun matchup on, what's the last map? Oasis. So that could be very interesting. Just to remind you guys, Odyssey did take the first control map, so momentum favors them, but 2CP are on their path to a reverse sweep. So Odyssey on the back foot here. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A lot on the line here. 2CP on the road to a reverse sweep against Rage Quit Odyssey. Rage Quit started out strong with 2 map wins, one on Lijiang and one on Havana, but 2CP came firing back on Mbani with a full hold, and then once again on Paris, finishing their first attack with 5 minutes on the clock, but still only barely finishing things out. So momentum hasn't completely shifted here, but there's more than just a match win on the line here. My name is Sun Phoenix, and I'm joined once again by Blur. And Blur,
Hello.
we've got more on the line. As I mentioned, we have 2CP, or rather, the winner of this match will go through to Elite Division next leg or for champs, whatever the seeding situation is, and the loser will go to the playoffs on Sunday. So there's a lot on the line here because we know that OG has defeated Evo 3-1, so that permutation is now sorted out, and this is the only match left going, and what a match it's been so far.
Yeah, I think looking at this match so far, we've seen very, very hard conflicting styles in this game. From the side of Odyssey, we've seen them take really good control of space, really good control of the kind of dynamic team fights that they've been able to kind of dictate for themselves. But for 2CP, we've seen the opposite. We've seen when the points are very tough to take, when they're very kind of like static points that the setup is kind of given to you, you know, they've been able to really control this and have their DPS absolutely shine. We've seen such good work out of Silencio, such good work out of Aquatic, and you know, their tanks able to hold really positions in those situations. So coming to this map 5 of the decider of who goes out to the playoffs and who takes the 5th place in the leg, I think this is a fantastic map to be going into for our last map.
Absolutely, it is. Oasis will be our final map here, as you say. No changes for either team, so we don't end up seeing Rinku Hareru make himself known today. But 2CP, man, talk to us, Blur. Like, I feel like they started off quite poorly. I mean, they started off quite well, right? With Aquatic on the Junkrat on control center of Lijiang, they looked pretty strong. But since then, it's been the Odyssey show until we met Numbani. What changed between the first 2 maps and the second 2 maps, do you think?
As I said, I think 2CP looked very, very strong on those assault-style checkpoints, where they were able to just hold Odyssey in those really kind of like good choke holds, and make it really difficult for them to take points. But when they had to kind of adapt fights for themselves, when they had to choose where to fight, you know, we look at Havana, we look at the 2 Lijiang maps, you know, they really looked a little bit unfavored in those situations. Only the kind of closed-in control center did they really look in control, and that's, you know, you only got 2 places to fight there, really. The point, the doors. Or that white room if you're talking about your first fight. And, you know, there they came out with a very specific strategy. They looked very well drilled in it, and they looked very comfortable. But other than that, they haven't looked comfortable in a lot of the situations, like save Numbani. You know, on that Paris map, once Odyssey started running that Farah pick, it looked very, very dangerous for them, and it looked like they were at risk of losing that fight. Now we're coming onto Oasis University, and I'm not going to comment on what Odyssey is doing, because it is nonsense. And if they do this, they will be getting in a lot of trouble.
Whooped later on if they do this.
Whooped in Bonneville.
But if they do it and win, then
yeah,
then your job might be in trouble.
But looking at what 2CP are coming out with, they know what they're about. They're coming out with this Ash Tracer composition, whereas Odyssey coming out with a May Reaper. Maybe looking to come out a little bit more aggressively, pressure very, very hard onto this front line here. But they're going to have to really think about how they set up against this Ash who's going to be trying to control the high ground here. Especially Fluffy, who's going to be stuck on this backline alone.
He is indeed a bit awkward here. Jeremy not really finding angles. Silencio, he's going to open proceedings up here with the pick onto Fluffy. A critical hero to get rid of, and that is even more critical. It has to be said, as Compy's on the line goes down, and from there it's pretty elementary for 2CP to just clean things up.
Looking at the compositions they're running, however, you do favor Odyssey if they're able to cut that distance and get into the brawl. The May and the Reaper are very, very prolific in being able to take down tightly clustered brawl compositions effectively. This Anna, however, is going to be very prime target for Aquatic in these situations here, so they're going to have to try and kite him in quite aggressively and then just rush down this Reinhardt to try and get the wins in this fight.
Ooh, get aggressive movement here onto the point, and Shamada only going to pay for it with his life as Vertigo gets returned. So kills in both directions here. Oh, that movement to the hole could be critical, actually. Zlade coming in clutch for his team here. The point almost flips, with Tox going down, might make it easy for Rage Quit Odyssey to clean things up. Zlade eventually going to hit the deck here, but Aquatic is still messing around on the point. That pulse bomb on the front of the shield going to do a lot of damage, and the DPS of 2CP once again coming in clutch for the blue squad.
so tough to keep your Ana alive in the situation with this absolutely fantastic Tracer player coming out from Aquatic here to really pressure out Fluffy a lot in these situations. He's really struggling to get those setups appropriately and struggling to last long in these fights. And that's kind of a key win condition. We consider that Fluffy's been such a prolific, such a strong player for Odyssey through this fight. We maybe need to see Shadows maybe taxi and play a little bit more carefully with him in the backline a bit.
The heavy appealing commitment there. Silencio now does have the bomb. We'll probably see him throw this out any second now. Is the flank angle coming up from JRV. Graveric Flux is well committed. So a lot in this fight for Rage Quit Odyssey, and immediately they're going to get rid of Shimada only. Oh, accretion on accretion action here, but it's Vertigo gets a bit of that. But it's JRV in the background, gets laid down, but there's still so much damage coming through the front line. Silencio is not being dealt with, and he's taking advantage of that. Tox going to take down Fluffy there, so clock one up in his favor in that little duel as 2CP seem firmly in control of this map.
And that's, it's down to the kind of composition doing exactly what they want to do. They want to try and force these 1v1s. And in the late stage, you trade a lot of the picks early in the fight, your very disposable picks as far as you're concerned.
Oh, Shimada. Oh my god, a massive sound barrier. Going to keep the team alive. What could have been a disastrous start. Rescued, perhaps, by Shadows. But unfortunately, Knoppis does end up going down. The Slade picks up his second here. The Madman is on a killing spree, and Silencio going to contribute as well here. And he has to be said, has been a key on Oasis so far. His Ashe uncontested and just pumping in the damage from the high ground.
Yeah, that's, really good control of the round from 2CP. Very similar to that Lijiang control center game, however. A kind of Ryan comp that they're able to just rush in, play super aggressively, try and take the advantage there. The other map's not going to be so straightforward, and I think coming into the further two maps where we see Odyssey maybe bring out a little bit of dive, bring out a little bit of the bunker themselves, I think we might start to see it shift a little bit as the match goes on. And as it looks like they're already starting to shift onto that Pharah composition here. Assassin not quite switched this yet, but they are picking out the Mercy, which the Mercy, generally they only start to pick out once they're going to bring out that Pharah. Again, 2CP very much looks like they're coming out with the same type of comp. They're very comfortable on this comp. They know what they want to do here. And the Ana on the side of out from Tox is going to make sure that Twinkie is able to get Shimada only is going to get that big healing output and that nano boost, which should be able to open up the side of Odyssey a little bit more coming into the point here.
Yeah, absolutely. Match point here for Rage Quit Odyssey. If they do not win this, they will have been reverse swept, and that is a horrible feeling. I can tell you that from experience. But Shadows and Assassin JDB get a pump damage in here from the high ground and put a lot of pressure on 2CP. Actually find some space to work with here. It's a really good position from Assassin and Co. So they get set up, but Aquatic on the flank. They're trying to get something done. JRV gonna ward him off with a dynamite, but he's not dealt with permanently. He's got the what is that movement? Okay, that's some big brain movement. They doesn't even face him. No respect from Aquatic. As Assassin goes down, Trigger Happy will take his own life, and a lot of picks here for 2CP will secure them the first pick, first point cap. That could be critical, Blur.
And that, I really think we need to look at Assassin here and say, we need you in a more aggressive position. I think that's a position where you needed him to kind of tuck in and pinch to the side of 2CP, where he stayed on that wide angle and wasn't really able to get very much damage done onto the two tanks, which, that's really your win condition if you're looking at a Ryan comp. You really need to take down their Ryan before he gets onto your bunker, or you have to make sure that he dies before he can kill your bunker. And that's, they're going to have to consider that as something they really, really need to be looking out for in the latter stages of this round, because so far, the Ryan really uncontested in this half.
Yeah, and here again you see Assassin JDB's positioning quite shallow, and Shimada only right on top of them. Forces the lamp out, which does get taken down. Aquatic in the backline here. They're so low, but okay. There we go. JRV gets the headshot he needs and buys the space now for Odyssey to heal up and start getting aggressive again. They've got the numbers advantage now. Can they leverage that into a team fight win? Especially with Assassin JDB closing in on his ulti. Nano Boost comes out here onto Shimada only. That boop might have actually been bad. I think he booped Shimada only into his team, and that means the Nano Boosted Rhino will help his team clean things up once again. 60% on the clock. This is last chance saloon almost for Rage Quit Odyssey.
And it's just they don't seem to be able to kind of find the value of being able to take out these tanks effectively. The tanks, of the Reinhardt Sigma, really the key to breaking down this composition. And with this Ana here keeping them pumping up, you have to either take out the Ana or you have to pump down so much damage on the tanks, and Assassin not really getting positions. They're actually making the compositional switch to do that now, to take Tox out of the fight early, try and get the advantage in that fight. But already they're losing picks way too early.
86% on the clock already as they've lost 4 members. Make that 5 as Vertigo will smash him down. Shimada only is taking some time out of his busy schedule to pop some squats on somebody. Not sure who that was, but he's asserting his authority on proceedings here. And it looks like 2CP, after a difficult start to the match today, have found their footing, hit their stride, and will secure themselves a reverse sweep over Rage Quit Odyssey. It's just clean up left on the point, unless I spoke too soon and they do manage to get a few picks, but it's looking pretty unlikely now. But they have a few. Oh, okay, never mind. Slade's decided to get rid of Fluffy there.
Oh,
and with him going down, Slade with the triple kill, picked up 2 with a boot, and Rage Quit Odyssey are gonna go down, getting reverse swept here by XvG 2CP. 2CP, that means we'll be in the Elite Division, and we'll see Rage Quit play again for the 4th time in 3 weeks on Sunday.
Yeah, that's really good stabilization from a team of very experienced, very mechanically fantastic players to find something that they can all click into, that they're all able to play to the same win conditions. Because we talk about that as something that they maybe struggled with in the first 2 maps and struggled with in the latter stage of the leg so far. And you know, they've today managed to just stabilize, managed to just find something that really works effectively. And really, they looked a better team when they started to stabilize on this Rhine comp.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of Odyssey not really being able to dismantle it properly or not playing their win conditions properly, but this Oasis game, a pure showcase of 2CP's strength in this case.
I think foregoing the Widowmaker as well, Aquatic doing such good work on that Tracer for the most part, a key part of their victory, as we've seen Assassin do in the past for Rage Quit Odyssey. So really figuring out what comp works for them, I think, was key, as you mentioned, and then executing well on that. And by the time we got to Oasis, they looked like a stronger team, as we expected them to be when we came in. But Rage Quit Odyssey put up a grand old fight today, but at the end of it all, they do get reverse swept, and they will play in the playoffs against INV Calypso on Sunday, a match they're pretty favored to take, but one they'll be sad they had to be a part of anyway. So XvG 2CP do to take the 3-2 victory here, but before we sign off for this evening, Blur, who is your player of the match?
I think we have to look to 2CP's main player, like the 2 main men there. You're looking at Aquatic and Silencio, and once they kind of switched up there, they really delivered really consistent, really quality gameplay going to the last 3 maps. But I have to say, even in the first 2 maps, the one player that really did stand out, if we think of Lijiang Tower, we think of the Farah against the Symmetra, we think of the Genji on Havana versus the Odyssey's Bunker. We have to be saying that Silencio has been a performer throughout this entire match, when they were losing, when they were strong. And I think really that's such a strong player, such a good player to have in your roster. You know, we talk about the damage losing like Luke has had, but that's exactly the player you want.
Exactly.
Someone ironically who's been on a team with like Luke previously, but you know, we look at him and I think he has to be our player of the match for today. The performance on the Genji and the Pharah was fantastic. And the performance on the Ashe was really, we talked about how much the value of the Dynamite was getting and how much value that spam was getting throughout the game.
Yeah, and on Oasis especially showed off First Point University really dominating with uncontested space there and using that very effectively. Silencio will be our player of the match. I think Aquatic a close second, it has to be said. Once he moved on to that Tracer and some other heroes, he really started to express himself in the match. Shout out to Shimada only and Slade as well. I think Slade, there were a couple of moments there that could have gone the other way if Slade hadn't got a few key picks on the Lucio, so critical there.
Yeah, and I think we also have to give a shout out to, you know, whatever 2CP's decision structure is there in terms of kind of solidifying their compositions and making sure that they were all playing at the same wavelength. I think whoever got them onto that same wavelength for this match, big shout out to the caller in that situation.
You'd probably assume it's Shimada only, as the guy used to coach the team, but who knows who stepped up in that moment. And I'm sure you can actually ask Silencio that, which we do have. We'll get an interview with him right now and pick his brain a little bit. All right, Mr. Silencio. First off, congratulations and well played.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, talk to us, right? You're heading into map 3 now. You're 2-0 down. After map 2, what are you guys saying to each other? What's the kind of vibe like in the booth, so to speak? And how did you turn that around getting into map 3?
Yeah, obviously we didn't have a great start. Things weren't going our way. and we were playing more into their game rather than playing into our game. So we just had to take a second, take a breather, mental reset, speak to each other, and assess the problem and try something going forward, and just rally back together again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We saw you actually basically switch roles with Aquatic in that sense. We know Aquatic very favored on those hit scan rolls, but him coming out on the Tracer and you coming out on the Ash, was there something in your kind of comm structure that changed there that you decided to switch onto those roles, or was that something you guys have pre-planned?
It was not pre-planned. It was a feeling, like we were feeling those heroes and we decided to go for it because we were feeling it.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I was distracted for half a second there. As you guys came into this match, obviously you haven't had a particularly good stage so far. As I understand it, Luke leaving and Sully leaving left a bit of a vacuum there in terms of how you were going to fill those roles. Do you guys feel like you're on a bit of more of an upswing now with this victory over Odyssey, and as you move into the next thing, do you think you figured out some of your more concerning problems, or are there more changes to come, as much as you're willing to share, obviously?
Cool, yeah, no, obviously lost 2 very good players, but we got 2 people to fill in the roles, and it's a bit rocky right now, but we're on the path to building a great, strong team, and I think that these guys can do it. They're amazing players.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, looking forward, you are expecting to see Odyssey in Ash finals again, expecting to see them kind of trying to come for your place again, come for the match again. Is there anything you'd say in terms of, as a very experienced player in the scene, anything you'd kind of contribute to helping them, like that you would expect would help them secure a game like this where it was very tightly contested and then kind of swung?
You just need to be prepared for anything, really. So often we're just used to playing 1v1, but as soon as we added 2 to the equation, people don't know what to do. So you need to be prepared for all instances.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So looking forward now towards finals and towards your no more upcoming matches. Thankfully, you guys don't have to play in the playoffs. What's next for 2CP? Any changes coming up, or do you think you can work with this roster and build a future together, at least for the upcoming finals? As much as you're willing to share again.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm not too sure, but I love all the guys on the team right now, and I think we can build a really strong team going forward.
Awesome. That's always good to hear.
Yeah,
last one from you.
I don't have anything particularly more to ask. Congratulations on your performance today, Silencio, and well played to TV.
Thanks, guys. It's good speaking with you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah. Hey? So okay, I have one more question here. What's it like? You've bounced around teams a little bit and finally settled on 2CP. Of course, you were on Pulse Gaming many moons ago, and then you were part of that GG roster that never ended up sort of getting fielded.
Never was. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like being on 2CP now compared to some of your older teams, and what was it like settling in there, especially since you didn't come in on the starting roster straight away?
Yeah, no, I took a big hiatus from the game for a while, but I was super keen to get back into it. I love the community. I love everyone. It's such a vibe, So it's been a lot of fun for me coming back into it. I really missed it.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. So that is Silencio, guys. Once again, congratulations to 2CP for coming back with the reverse sweep. I want to say we don't see that very often, but that's actually not true these days. Reverse sweeps around every corner. You got to be on your toes if you're a team that's ahead. Exactly. Got to update the old exclamation mark RS command in Causa. But Silencio, before we let you go and celebrate with your team, where can we find you on the internet?
Never. I'm hidden. I don't have anything. There's no trace of me.
Okay.
But shout-outs to Aquatic. He's pretty pissed he wasn't picked as player of the game. And shout out to XvG as well.
Awesome. So you can follow XvG on Twitter. If I can scroll up here, at XvG_2CP for you guys. And I'm not sure what the XvG Twitter is. Anybody know that?
Should just be Extreme Vision Gaming, no E in the beginning of it.
Yes, Extreme Vision Gaming. So you can follow them there for all the XvG related updates. Silencio does not have a Twitter, but the sound of things, he's a man who values his privacy and his anonymity. Aquatic, you can follow at aquatic_ZA. I say hopefully. I don't actually know if that's true, but find Aquatic on Twitter and follow him. He will welcome the attention, I think. And then our losing team today, unfortunately, was Rage Quit Odyssey, a team still on the up and up, it has to be said, but unfortunately quite up to the task today. And that's at Rage Quit, at RQ_Odyssey. And I think it's Rage Quit_ZA on Twitter as well for the org. You can follow them there for all the updates.
If only our producer would tell us.
Right? I'm like, these team Twitters are often not up to date, which is why I like to give the
org Twitter.
Anyway, so that is the losing team today. Keep an eye out for them on Sunday, where they'll take on XvG Calypso. Should be an interesting match, but one that they will be definitely firmly favored in. Before we sign off for good, my name has been San Phoenix, at San Phoenix on Twitter, SUNPHEONYX. I tweet about all sorts of things, and I'm a real swell dude. And Blur, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at blur_RSA, and I will be making jokes on Sunday.
Yeah, I will be the butt of all Blur's jokes. Peach today, handling our production today as per usual. Excellent as usual. Was one mistake where my face was on screen when I wasn't expecting it, so I'll remember that till my dying day.
Peach. Thanks,
the
Peach.
Peach today on Twitter, and of course follow him on Twitch. He streams occasionally. twitch.tv/ThePeachZA. Then we've got ZA Overwatch. Follow us there for all your local Overwatch updates. We put out polls on the piggybacking of the ATK announcement for ATK official matches, and we put out our own announcement for unofficial costs as well, and for any costs of other tournaments. So you can follow us there. We do play of the match as well, play of the week rather, occasionally. I don't know what's the story with that, but I'll have to poke the bear and get that one rolling again, I think. Or maybe I'll let Blur do it. That can be his baby. So yeah, lots to follow there for all your South African Overwatch needs. And then Discord as well. Head over to the Kaiser Discord to keep up with everything happening in the local scene. And last and certainly not least is ATK, at ATK Arena on Twitter. Follow them there. They do a lot more than just Overwatch. They've got a Rocket League tournament starting up now, and of course their Pro Series, which is something to do with cars going very fast. Not something I would be familiar with, unfortunately. And yeah, you can follow the Twitch you're currently on, of course, ATK_zone, and that's where we'll be putting most of our Overwatch matches for the ATK Overwatch tournament. Tune in on Sunday, guys. A match between XvG Calypso versus Rage Quit Odyssey. As I've mentioned, the winner of that match will punch their ticket to a better seeding for finals, pretty much. The loser of that match will kind of stay where they were in the Challenger division and end up seeding that way. We've got announcements coming out soon for what's going to happen with the finals, so keep your eyes out for all of that stuff, and we'll keep you up to date with any changes that have occurred. Of course, coronavirus has thrown everything up in the air, so we've had to change a few of our plans, unfortunately, but we'll come out with an announcement very soon to keep you guys up to date. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you on Sunday.